Good morning, girls. Today we begin with chapter 6 Mahavira and Buddha, Great Preachers, on page 46. Now, in this chapter, we'll be learning about two religions, that is Jainism and Buddhism. Now, the religion Jainism, it was founded by Mahavira, and Buddhism was founded by Buddha. So, this chapter, it discusses about the history, the teachings of history and teachings of the two religions, Jainism and Buddhism. Now, Jainism, it was founded by Mahavira in the 6th century BC, and this religion, the religion Jainism, it came as a reaction against the teachings of the Brahmins. And Buddhism, the religion, it was founded by Buddha, and this religion, it is one of the oldest religions. This Buddhism, it is one of the oldest religions, and it is practiced in most of the Asian countries. So this chapter deals with the two religions. So we'll begin with the class. Social conditions for the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. So the two religions, Jainism and Buddhism, they began to rise because of certain social conditions. We'll discuss about the social conditions which led to the rise of these two religions. The end of the later Vedic age was marked by a number of social, political and religious changes. So in the last class, in the last chapter, we learnt about the Vedic age, about the early Vedic age and the later Vedic age. So when the later Vedic age, when it was coming to an end, there were many changes which were happening. There were many social, political and religious changes which were happening towards the end of the later Vedic age. The most significant of these was the rise of religious sects like Jainism and Buddhism in the second half of the 6th century BC. So there were many changes, many social, political and religious changes happening towards the end of the later Vedic age. And the most important, one of the most important of these changes was the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. Religious sect means it is a large it is a religious group. Now there will be a large religious group, and some people, a group of people, they might have a different belief, they might have a different opinion from this religious group. So this small group of people which have a different religious beliefs are known as sects. So the Jainism, the religion Jainism and Buddhism, they began to rise from these religious sect, and they began to rise in the second half of the 6th century BC. The following social conditions were responsible for the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. Now there were certain conditions, certain social conditions which led to the rise of the two religions. So we'll discuss about these conditions. Vedic religious ceremonies had become too rigid and expensive. They were beyond the means of ordinary people. So in the last chapter, when we learnt about the religious beliefs, we learnt that there were many ceremonies in the Vedic age. Many religious ceremonies were conducted, offerings, prayers, sacrifices and many other things were conducted. So these religious ceremonies, these religious practices, they were becoming very rigid. Rigid means very strict. They were not flexible, they were very inflexible, they were very rigid, and they were expensive. The practices, the ceremonies, they were very expensive. So the ordinary people, they could not take part in these ceremonies. So this is one reason which led to the rise of the two religions. Now, corruption and evil practices crept into religious practices. This made the people look for alternative religious sects. So there were many corruptions and evil practices which were happening. Corruption means it means dishonest dealings. There were many the religious practices, they were filled with corruption, dishonest dealings, and evil practices. All these things, they began to enter into these religious practices. So the people, they began to look for other religious sects. Alternative means other. So they began to look for other options. They began to look for other religious options. The caste system had become rigid. Some people were treated as untouchables. The new religions accepted these people. Now, we had learnt that during the later Vedic period, the caste system, it became more rigid. We learnt it in the last class, in the last chapter. That is, during the early Vedic period, the caste system, it was not very rigid. But when it came to the later Vedic age, the caste system, it became very rigid, and there were some people who were treated as untouchables. The lower class, they were treated as untouchables. But when these two religions, when Jainism and Buddhism came, the untouchables, the people who were treated, the low caste people, they were welcomed into these two religions. They were accepted by these religions. Most of the Vedic literature was composed in Sanskrit, which the common man could not understand. Now, the Vedic literature, most of the Vedic literature, it was written in the Sanskrit language, and this Sanskrit language, it was not known to the common people. The common man could not understand Sanskrit, and so they could not understand the Vedic literature. So this is another reason which led to the rise of the Jainism and Buddhism. In the later Vedic age, animal sacrifices were made in large numbers. Animals were useful to farmers, so people wanted to adopt a religion that would give protection to animals. So we had learnt in the last chapter that agriculture was their main source of income. That was the main source of their livelihood. So for agriculture, they needed animals. They needed the help of animals for agriculture. And during the later Vedic age, the animals, they were sacrificed. They were made to sacrifice in large numbers. So the people, the farmers, they needed these animals to for their agriculture. So since these animals, they were sacrificed in large numbers, the people, they looked for a religion which would protect these animals, which would give protection to their animals. So these are the reasons, the conditions which led to the rise of the religion Jainism and Buddhism. So we'll stop for today, girls, and we'll discuss about the Jainism, about religion Jainism in the next class. So today we learnt about the conditions, the causes, the reasons that led to the rise of the religion Jainism and Buddhism. That's all for today, girls. Thank you.